I came here today to demand that this administration follow the law. Jasmine Crockett's voice shrieked with triumphant venom. But you, Mr. Vance, the judge interrupted, his voice like cracking ice, are no longer required to answer. Because as of 5 minutes ago, thanks to President Trump, the law this entire spectacle is based on no longer exists. Jasmine Crockett, a political phantom haunted by the ashes of her own career, spent her days in the dusty archives of the Library of Congress. The criminal investigation into her forged document had isolated her completely. She was a pariah, but, in her exile, her obsession with the Vance family had metastasized, twisting into a final, intricate plan for revenge. She couldn't win in the court of public opinion. So, she would drag them into a court of law. After weeks of obsessive digging, she found it, a dusty, forgotten immigration statute from the early 20th century, a relic from a bygone era of xenophobia. The law was archaic, absurd, and hadn't been enforced in over 80 years. But, technically, it had never been repealed. It allowed any citizen to file a private deportation petition against another if they could argue, however tenuously, that their presence was detrimental to the national character. It was the perfect weapon, legal, official, and utterly insane. Her plan was to use her congressional standing to force an emergency hearing in an immigration court. It wouldn't be about winning. It would be about creating a media circus, forcing Usha Vance, the vice president's wife, to be subjected to a humiliating public trial based on a century-old bigoted law. In the White House, J.D. Vance read the legal summons with a cold, disbelieving fury. "She's actually done it," he said, his voice tight with rage. "She's filed a petition to have my wife deported under a law from 1917. She's forcing a hearing." President Trump examined the document, his expression grim. "It's a stunt, J.D. A desperate, pathetic stunt. But it's a legal proceeding. We have to respond." "I'll respond," Vance vowed. "I'll go to that hearing, and I will tear her and this ridiculous claim to shreds myself." "You'll do that," Trump agreed. "But that's checkers. We're going to play chess." He leaned forward, a strategic fire lighting his eyes. "She wants to use a dead law to attack your family? Fine. We're going to use a new one to protect them, and we're going to do it so fast she won't know what hit her." The plan was audacious. While the White House legal team prepared to fight Crockett's petition in court, a parallel operation began in secret. Usha Vance, using her sharp legal mind, began drafting a powerful motion to dismiss. Not just arguing the law's irrelevance, but its fundamental unconstitutionality. Her brief was a brilliant takedown of the statute's prejudiced origins. Simultaneously, President Trump put his top legislative aides on a mission. They began quietly working with an allied leadership in the House and Senate to draft a new piece of legislation, the Patriot Family Protection Act. The bill was simple, but lethal. It would repeal not just the archaic statute Crockett was using, but dozens of other obsolete, discriminatory immigration laws still lingering on the books. It was framed as a necessary housekeeping bill to modernize and streamline the legal code. Its passage was fast-tracked. The day of the hearing arrived. The immigration courtroom was a media circus, just as Crockett had hoped. She sat at her table, a smug, self-satisfied smirk on her face. She believed she had finally trapped the vice president's family in a no-win scenario. The hearing began. Crockett presented her case with theatrical flair, reading passages from the ancient, offensive law, arguing that Usha Vance's elite status was a detriment to the nation's character. It was a vile, nonsensical performance. Then, Usha Vance's legal team presented her motion to dismiss. Her lead counsel eloquently argued the points from her brief, exposing the law as a racist relic that violated every modern principle of due process. The judge, a stoic and seasoned jurist, listened intently, his expression unreadable. Finally, the judge turned to the government's table. "Mr. Vice President, do you wish to make a statement?" J.D. Vance rose, his face a mask of calm, righteous anger. He walked to the lectern. "Your Honor," he began, his voice clear and resonant, "for weeks, this woman has attacked my wife. She has lied about her. She has insulted her. And now, she has dragged her into this courtroom to answer for the crime of being a successful, patriotic American whose parents came here from another country." He looked directly at Crockett. "You wrap yourself in the law, but you care nothing for justice. You use our history as a weapon to attack our present. You claim this is about patriotism, but you wouldn't know the first thing about love of country." His voice began to rise, filled with a husband's protective fury. "My wife is more of a patriot than you could ever dream of being. Her family came here legally. They embraced this nation, and they built a life on the promise that is America. A promise you seek to tarnish with these disgusting 100-year-old ghosts from our past." As Vance spoke, a silent drama was unfolding in the Oval Office. An aide rushed in and handed President Trump a document. The president signed it with a flourish. Back in the courtroom, Vance reached his powerful conclusion. "This isn't about the law. This is about a political vendetta that weaponizes our own history against a patriot. This is about one person's sick obsession. And I am here to tell you, it ends now. It ends today." At that exact moment, every phone in the courtroom buzzed with a breaking news alert. On the screens behind the judge, the image switched to a live feed from the White House. It was President Trump, sitting at the resolute desk, holding a signing ceremony. "Just moments ago," the president announced to the nation, "I signed into law the Patriot Family Protection Act. This historic, bipartisan bill cleans up our legal code, removing dozens of old, hateful, and un-American immigration laws. I'm proud to announce that the specific, obsolete statute being used today in a pathetic political stunt in a courtroom is now officially and permanently repealed. This law is no longer valid." He held up the signed bill. "I am dedicating this act to all patriot families, and especially to my friend and our great Second Lady, Usha Vance." The courtroom was thrown into chaos. Reporters gasped. Crockett's jaw dropped. The judge banged his gavel for order, a slow, stunned smile spreading across his face. "Well," the judge said, looking down at a shell-shocked Jasmine Crockett, "this is a new one." He turned to Vance. "I came here today to demand that this administration follow the law. But you, Mr. Vance," he paused dramatically, "are no longer required to answer. Because as of 5 minutes ago, thanks to President Trump, the law this entire spectacle is based on no longer exists." He looked at Crockett, his voice turning to ice. "This court dismisses this petition with extreme prejudice, and I am admonishing you, Representative Crockett, for bringing this politically motivated, legally moot, and frankly offensive action before this court. You have wasted our time. Do not do it again." He slammed the gavel. It was over. Jasmine Crockett sat frozen at her table, the entire world crashing down around her. Her brilliant plan, her final, intricate trap, had not just failed. It had been publicly, surgically, and hilariously vaporized in a masterstroke of political chess. She had meant to put Usha Vance on trial, but had instead become the catalyst for a law that would forever protect families like hers. Her plan to deport Vance's wife had exploded in her face so spectacularly that the shrapnel had destroyed the very weapon she had tried to use. In a stunning move, President Trump and Vice President Vance didn't just defend against an attack, they rewrote the law to make the attack impossible. What was more devastating to Crockett's plan, Usha Vance's brilliant legal arguments, or President Trump's perfectly timed political checkmate? Let us know your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories of ultimate victory.